It was a very hot summer on the island of Sodor, and everyone was trying their best to keep cool. The engines were feeling hot too. Their boilers kept them warm, but the heat from the sun really made work more harder than they expected. Toby was feeling hottest of all. He'd been working harder than any other engine, and this made him feel thirsty. When Toby returned to his shed that evening, he was glad that the day was over. His driver spoke kindly to him.
You have worked very hard today. I'm sure the Fat Controller will be very proud of you.
Then the driver closed the door, and he and the fireman went off home for tea.
I wonder when the heat wave will finish.
Because of Toby's small water tank, he always had to be careful with his puffs. It was important for Toby to take on water regularly, otherwise, if he didn't, then he would come to a stop and get stranded on the line. The next morning, the sun shone, and it was very hot. The crew drove Toby towards the water tower. He needed a top-up before he could start work.
I'll just have my drink and then we'll get going.
The fireman put the hose into the tank, and the driver turned the tap. But nothing happened.
What's wrong?
The water tower must be empty. We'll have to find another water tower.
Toby didn't like the sound of this.
But the nearest water tower is at the next station.
It's perfect.
The driver and fireman climbed back into the cab, and Toby puffed off, feeling very worried. Toby hoped the water tower would be free for him to use. He didn't want to get stuck. But when he arrived, he could see James already there. James was enjoying his drink as Toby stopped beside him.
Excuse me, James. Could I have my drink, please?
You must wait your turn.
Toby was disappointed. Then Gordon puffed up behind James.
Move over please, Toby. Important engines go first.
I'm important too.
Pah! Tram engines are second best.
This made Toby feel upset, and he puffed away. Toby puffed into Maythwaite Station. The Fat Controller was there waiting for him.
I have some job for you to do. I need you to take some trucks of fruit to market. Then you are to collect empty coaches and take them to the painters.
Yes, sir.
Then when you're done, I'll have one more job for you. But you'll get that once you've done your other jobs.
He found his trucks in a siding by the water tower. Then Toby had an idea.
Could we take on water here?
The driver and fireman agreed, but then they noticed a sign on it saying, "Out of order."
Sorry, Toby. Your drink will have to wait.
Toby moaned as he coupled up to the fruit trucks. Toby really wanted his drink, but he knew his work was important. As soon as everything was ready, Toby set off on his way to market. As he puffed along, he felt the sun getting hotter and hotter, and he was getting thirsty. Toby was worried that he wasn't going to get his drink.
I hope I get to a water tower soon.
Then, Gordon raced past with the express.
Out of the way, little Toby!
Toby took no notice and continued his journey. At last he arrived at the market. Toby was pleased with himself. Then he saw a water tower in front of him.
Can I have my drink now, please?
As soon as the trucks were uncoupled, Toby raced to the water tower. But then Toby heard a whistle coming from the track beside him. The signalman called to him to make him stop. Toby's driver put on the brakes and stopped in time. Oliver puffed up to the tower in front of him.
Sorry, Toby, but I'm in a hurry.
But I need my drink now. I have another long trip to make.
But I'm already late with my passenger train, and I can't let my passengers down.
Toby sighed sadly as the signalman switched the points. His driver and fireman could see that Toby was worried.
Don't worry. As soon as we've delivered the coaches, you can go and have your drink.
Toby didn't say anything. He just puffed sadly to his next job. He arrived at Wellsworth where the coaches were waiting. Toby could see they were express coaches from Edward's branch. The driver coupled Toby up and he set off for the painters. Luckily, the coaches weren't heavy and Toby didn't use as much puff as he needed to. But he was still nervous about what would happen if he ran out of water. Then he puffed to a junction. He had to stop to let Percy through with a train of coal trucks.
Hello, Toby. Glad to see you looking busy.
But Toby was too worried to reply back. He watched as Percy puffed into the distance. He rang his bell as cheerfully as he could, but it didn't sound cheerful. At last the junction was clear, and Toby set off again.
I mustn't break down. I mustn't break down.
He was determined to keep as much as puff as he could. At last he arrived at the painters, where the men had tins of bright yellow and red paint.
Here are the coaches.
Now we can get you a drink.
Toby was delighted to hear this, but his driver was worried.
We'll have to be careful. We're running low.
Toby puffed as carefully as he could, trying his best to use as little water as he had. But this was easier said than done. The sun was high in the sky, and Toby was getting more and more thirsty. He was sure he wasn't going to make it. Then there was trouble. Toby slowed down until finally he came to a halt.
We're out of water. We're stuck.
Poor Toby felt very upset. He was stranded on the main line, far away from the nearest water tower. Suddenly, Duck puffed up behind him. He was taking passengers back to Knapford. Toby's driver flagged him down. Duck was puzzled.
Toby's run out of water. Can you help him to Knapford, please?
I'll have you back to Knapford in no time.
Duck's crew agreed, and Duck buffered up to Toby.
Thank you, Duck.
The two friends were coupled up, and Duck pushed Toby with his passengers. It was a long way, and both Toby and the passengers were heavy, but Duck didn't give up. They arrived at Knapford on time, and Duck was exhausted. He sighed with relief. The Fat Controller came to see what was going on.
What's all this?
Toby's crew explained what had happened. Toby couldn't get any water, and this caused him to get stuck. The Fat Controller came to see Toby.
You did a good day's work today, Toby. I'm sorry you couldn't get any water, but I think now you deserve a rest. You can have your extra job afterwards.
Toby was pleased. Now he could have his long-awaited drink.
Please, Duck, can you help me to the water tower?
Of course I can.
The coaches were uncoupled, and Duck pushed Toby to the water tower. When they arrived, Toby was pleased that this time no one else got there first. Duck stopped beside the water tower, and the driver put the hose into Toby's empty tank. As he turned the tap, Toby could feel the cold, refreshing water pour in his tank.
Ah, just what I needed. Thank you, Duck.
My pleasure. We Great Western engines always help our friend.
Then Gordon puffed up behind Duck. He whistled impatiently.
Out of my way! I have a goods train to deliver!
This made the two engines cross.
You'll have to wait. Duck is next. so you'll have to wait.
I'm sorry, Gordon, but I got here first before you.
Oh, how undignified!
Later that afternoon, Toby and Duck puffed back to the station where the Fat Controller was waiting. Duck was coupled up to his passenger train again.
I have a very special job for you, Toby. I would like you to take these very important people to a special meeting at Groven's Gate Station. They are to meet the Thin Controller.
Toby beamed happily, and his axles tingled with excitement.
That's a very important job.
The VIPs climbed aboard a special carriage, and the guard blew his whistle. Toby set off with his important train.
Good luck.
Toby puffed happily along the line, feeling very pleased. The visitors were having a comfortable ride. Then Toby rang his bell to some children in a field. The children waved and cheered to the VIPs, and they clapped as well. The VIPs were very surprised and very happy to wave back to the children. Toby felt very happy and proud of himself.
The Fat Controller is right about you. You are indeed a really useful engine.
And a thirsty one, too.
He grinned cheekily to no one in particular.